Every city has its own scent. Mine smells like coffee, neon, and someone's fear just evaporated from the air. I can tell it isn't mine. The 47th floor of the ministry's information security wing hums like a hive, servers breathing. Glass partitions reflecting rain-slashed light, ghostly dashboards crawling across holographic panes. My desk is a trench in a war no one admits we're fighting. My job is to notice the wrong breath in a room full of held ones. On my side of the glass, I'm nobody. Ash. Omega. Analyst. I keep my scent sealed under a chemical lid, and my expressions locked where cameras can't parse them. That's the trick to surviving in a city like this. Become the white noise. Be the elevator hum. Be the pause between two blinks. The alert creeps across my left peripheral, unauthorized access request. Level, executive. Executive. Above me. Above most of the floor. Cute, I murmur, fingers gliding into the terminal's underskin. The breach isn't a breach. It's a handshake wearing someone else's gloves. The source pings and diffuses. Like perfume in a crowded train car. I follow the ghost, tracing spliced commands and mirrored credentials through. A maze that I designed and most people only pretend to understand. My pulse stays level. Fear is inefficient. But the air does change. A faint metallic tang, like a coin pressed. To the tongue, threaded with the static curl that follows thunder. Not mine. Mr. Ash. The voice arrives before the footsteps. Calm. Low. The vowels too precise to be local. Like he had his accent surgically corrected. I don't turn yet. My hands continue their dance on the consoles. Behind me, glass sliding doors breathe open. I let myself glance at the reflection in the partition instead. He's taller than I remember. He was tall last year too, but some people carry height like an apology. Leon carries it like a verdict. Black field uniform, collar seamless, fabric swallowing the light. Hair cut close, that alpha steadiness in his shoulders, the kind they teach you in training, be the wall other people lean on. And under the neutralizer's muffling, that hint again, a storm iron note. Someone brought the weather inside. I thumb the alert to sleep and make myself smile. Agent. Leon, he says. We've worked together. He's right. One operation, Northern Docks. An extraction that only went wrong twice. I had a good view of his back through most of it. I swivel slowly, enough to look harmless. Cold steel eyes, my former partner used to say, back when I had one. I never told him I was just matching the room. How may the ministry assist field operations on this fine monsoon evening? I ask. You're very calm, Leon says. You're very armed. I tip my chin at the holster. Shall we pretend neither of us notices? The corner of his mouth wants to smile. It doesn't. He stands just outside my workspace, the way you stand on the lip of a cliff. Respect for the edge. His gaze flicks over my displays, sanitized. I keep one readout alive, showing the weather map like I actually care whether the rain will flood the transit tunnels again. We had a security anomaly, he says. I read the memo. Twice. The prose was ambitious. Ash, he says again, gently, like he's trying my name on for threat and finding it doesn't fit. We need to talk about a leak. We all do. I tap the blank glass to wake it, and the room stains blue. Which one is your favorite? He steps closer. The storm iron thread in the air tenses, barely there, a muscle twitch under the city's skin. The suppressant woven into my undershirt holds, clinical and clean, no wrong notes from me. I meet his eyes because I have to, because not meeting them in this building says you've rehearsed your lie too long. There's fatigue there, a fracture under the polished surface, orders that didn't fit inside the ethics they assigned him at the academy. I file it away, small and sharp. You're being targeted, he says. By who? I say. Even though the executive level ping is still smearing luminous fingerprints across my logs. He doesn't answer. He's looking at the glass, but not really. He's looking for what I chose not to show him. I let the silence settle. Let the rain thread its knitting needles against the windows. He waits better than most. Not the type to fill pauses with excuses. That would be the other kind of alpha. The ones who mistake volume for command. I tilt my head. Agent Leon. You're here to warn me? I'm here to ask you some questions. No threat in his voice. He'd wear it wrong. He knows it. Off the record, those are my favorite kind. I lace my fingers together so I won't drum them against the console. Ask. He takes one breath. The iron thunder scent flares, then flattens, like he reined himself in by habit. Have you accessed the Helix Gov contract registry in the last 72 hours? Of course, I say. I work here. Have you extracted any restricted orders? Define restricted. He doesn't. Then no, I say, because it's the truth and also convenient. I hold his gaze, and a part of me that's still young enough to be stupid thinks. He listens. Not the way most do, waiting for their turn to speak. Actually listens. It hits my ribs like a misfired heartbeat. He says, "There's an executive signature authorizing a kill order. The breach we traced came from your node. Nodes are promiscuous," I say. Anyone can wear anyone's perfume if they're patient enough. You know who did it? I do. Or I know the shape of them. I trace it in my mind like a scent map, the too clean scrub of an ethics filter overlaid on the messy human smear of fear. Someone above us. Someone who prefers to puppet from the mezzanine rather than touch the floor. What will you do if I say yes? I ask. His jaw ticks. He doesn't look at my hands, which are steady. He looks at my face like there's a right answer, and he'd recognize it if he saw it. I'll ask you to come with me. And if I say no, I shouldn't ask. I do. Then I'll insist, he says. Still soft. Still that patient wall. He isn't lying. I'd prefer a louder man. They're easier to move. Give me 5 minutes to lock down. I turn back to the console before he can say no. My fingertips kiss code and the room obliges. Screens shedding skins, alert trails folding into decoy patterns. I send a packet into the ducts, a little flock of fake me's, chittering into the cameras. I seed the servers with a string only I will know to find again. I watch the executive ping circle. Hesitate. Behind me, Leon doesn't shift his weight. He's a statue until he isn't. That's the job. His iron thunder scent grazes the low edge of my suppressant, testing a wall neither of us has time to discuss. The humorless part of me wants to tell him that some of us are made of walls. The rest wants to climb one. Ash, he says, more warning now. Your 5 minutes are over. It's been 90 seconds, I say lightly, and cut the power on my main rig. The room sighs, the glass cools. When I stand, we're closer than we were, because the space got smaller somehow. Or maybe I did. He doesn't step back. I don't step forward. The city's rain paints our reflections together on the partition, a messy watercolor. You trust me, he says, surprising both of us. I consider that, no. But I trust your training. Something almost like a smile flickers and dies. That's not a comfort. It's what I've got. I palm the access strip and let the doors breathe open. The corridor beyond is an artery of light. We step into it, as if the building might decide to swallow us if we move too slow. He walks half a pace ahead, like a habit he picked up protecting people who don't want to be seen. Halfway down the corridor, my terminal pings my wrist, one last shiver of data slipping through a tightening noose. I glance down. The notification unfolds like a knife. Executive Action Authorization, Sector, Internal Sanitation, Subject, Leak, 2176th. Signatory, L. Kestrel, Field Lead, Leon's signature. Clean. Exact. The slope of the K I remember from his reports. We stop at the same time. He turns, maybe to say something reasonable, something that cushions. I don't give either of us the dignity. I hold the projection between us. Cold light soaking into the space where air should be enough. His eyes widen by a fraction. Admiration, repayment, threat, all the human reactions that smell the same when you strip them down. I meet the storm in his and pretend I'm not counting exits. In my head, the thought arrives so quietly I almost miss it. Sometimes the scent of death arrives long before the shot. I don't run. He doesn't raise the gun. The corridor listens to the rain, and the city, patient as ever, waits to see which of us breathes first. Night in this city doesn't fall so much as condense. Neon beads on metal awnings. Rain drips from ad drones in polite intervals, like they've learned to weep on schedule. I let the crowd rinse me of attention as I slip out of the ministry, a shadow exiting a body. The executive corridors lead to a service stair that pretends to be locked. I taught it that trick. I take it 3 floors down, cut across through a maintenance artery, and re-emerge under a canopy of rain and voltage. The street reeks of wet plastic and coffee ground into shoes. Screens chatter at my periphery. Buy clean air. Buy clean thoughts. Buy clean history. History is my specialty, making it look cleaner than it was. I peel a seed packet from my sleeve and crack it with my thumb. 3 ghost profiles unfurl across the municipal net. Ash, but not. Walking 3 different paths, swiping 3 different gates. One heads for the tram. One slips into a high-rise lobby with a forged smile. The third takes the Riverwalk, casual, careless, broadcasting the dopamine pattern of a man about to make a terrible choice. They're all attractive decoys. I make sure of it. Predators are still human. I keep the 4th path, the one no one likes. Up. The fire escape complains when I climb it, metal teeth grinding under my palms. The city opens its mouth, and I step onto its tongue. A rooftop soaked in blue. Below me, traffic sneers. Above me, the drones drift, shedding thin rain like a rumor they can't keep to themselves. The ping that has followed me since the corridor snaps into focus 2 blocks out. Leon is good at being behind you without becoming a noise. I know the feel of his pursuit already. The iron storm thread tilting the air, the way the atmosphere itself straightens its posture when he's near. I keep moving. There's a camera at the edge of the roofline. I kiss it with a whisper of code. It forgets my face and remembers someone else's. 2 jumps over, I let another packet detonate. One of my decoys appears, on a transit platform, boarding a train that isn't stopping tonight. Somewhere, a handler's pulse will spike. 3 somewheres, if I've done it right. Make them choose wrong, my old mentor used to say. People are bad at being 3 people at once, so I give Leon 4. He takes the bait, and doesn't. I can feel it in the way his ping holds, testing the air, triangulating with something more patient than orders. He knows me just well enough to be a problem. I sprint the next gap. The ledge slicks my shoes. I measure the distance with the part of my brain that never panics in launch. For 2 seconds, I'm suspended in billboard glow, the city shouting legends at my underside. My fingers catch a rain-fat gutter. I haul, ribs protesting. A breath later, boots hit tar. I roll. Pop up. Keep moving. The net stirs with activity. A drone rotates its camera eye toward me, hesitates, then angles away as my fake signature washes its lens. I throw a second layer, a mirage of heat and motion skates along the rooftop beside me. To any sensor, I'm a pair. One ash rushing the edge, the other turning left at the access hatch. They'll split teams. They'll split attention. They'll... Stop. The voice is too close. The word lands at the base of my neck, hot iron pressed into rain-chilled skin. I don't stop out of obedience. I stop because momentum demands it if I want future bones. My heel skids on the lip of the roof. There's too much water. The world a slick invitation to physics. Tar drops away. The alley below yawns. There's the staccato of signage, a smear of color, the city's heartbeat occurring without me. My foot finds nothing. My other foot misjudges the argument. Gravity agrees with itself. Then his hand locks around my wrist. The jolt goes up my arm and detonates in my shoulder. My body insists on continuing its exit strategy. Leon's grip refuses. Pain writes lightning in my tendons. For a breath, I'm a pendulum over neon, rain threading through my hair. The city persuading me that falling would be so much simpler. Don't, he says, which is rich, considering. Planning on it, I grit. Kicking for purchase. My free hand scrabbles at the edge. Tar bites my fingers. Leon hauls, clean, trained, using his core like they teach you in buildings with nicer floors than ours. I slide across the lip and collapse onto the roof in a graceless sprawl, the sky ringing in my ears. He doesn't let go immediately. Neither do I. There's a beat where our hands remember that they're hands, not clamps. The air between us is all thunder iron and the sterile whisper of my suppressant, a chemistry experiment no one asked to supervise. I look up at him. He looks down at me. We both breathe like the city might charge us for oxygen. You do this with all your targets? I ask. Voice sandpapered by adrenaline. Save them first, kill them later? If he were the loud kind, he'd smile. He isn't. But something in his face briefly suggests a man who might have been allowed to laugh once. Only the ones who set 4 decoys and still choose the worst roof. Occupational hazard? He helps me up as if gravity has a warrant for my arrest, and he's not ready to hand me over. His fingers are warm even in the rain. He releases my wrist like it might bruise if he remembers to be gentle. He's not wrong. Orders stand, he says once we're both upright. The apology isn't in his voice. That would be too honest. Walk. I prefer stroll. It implies I have options. You do. He angles his head at the skyline. Fall or talk. Those are the same option with different customer service. We move. Not away from the edge. I'm done with theatrical deaths for the evening. But toward the access hatch at the roof's center. I crack it, send another fog of false signatures curling into the ducts, and drop into the building's throat. The stairwell smells like mold and old smoke. Our steps throw back echoes shaped like other people. Leon follows at a respectful distance. He doesn't crowd, which is worse than crowding. The good ones leave you room to run, and then make you choose not to. At the second landing, I cut right into a maintenance corridor. Pipes overhead gurgle like a bad conscience. A service door yields to a code that stopped being legal a year ago. Down another flight, through a crawl space that insists on being personal with my shoulders. And we spill into what was once a station and now is just a large, damp rumor. The tracks are dead. The platform sags. A rust-streaked kiosk lists in a corner, selling nothing but nostalgia. Water drips from somewhere unhelpful. The city's voice up there becomes a calm, muffled thing down here, as if sound itself shrugs at the threshold and decides not to get involved. My office, I say, sweeping a hand at the gloom. Mind the ambiance. Leon surveys the ruin like it has secrets it might be persuaded to tell. He doesn't comment on the improvised workstation tucked under a collapsed advertisement. A camp lamp, a battery stack, a battered terminal with a personality disorder. He doesn't comment on the emergency cot folded against the wall, the shelf of ration bars, the thermal blankets, the stack of filter cartridges that says I've thought about not going back. He notices all of it. His eyes are built for noticing. He files it away with the soft precision that is becoming his signature. Why here? He asks. Because no one looks down when they're hunting up. I shrug off the rain from my hair and begin coaxing the terminal awake. And because Rats and I have an understanding, you pay rent? We don't ask each other for references. He drifts closer, careful with the distance. That iron weather scent of his is thinner under concrete, more like the memory of a storm than the storm itself. My suppressant holds, the clean, quiet field around me. It doesn't stop the laugh from trying to escape my throat when the lamp flickers and finally stabilizes, painting both of us in cheap light. He leans a hip against a pillar that looks like it might file for disability and watches me work. The leak, he says after a beat. You framed someone. Framed is such an ugly word. My fingers dance. Networks open like stubborn flowers. I offered the ministry a selection of incorrect possibilities. They'll feel flattered they have choices. You sent decoys on the net. And on the street. I multitask. He exhales. A small surrender. Ash. If you're innocent, stop making yourself look guilty. If experience has taught me anything, it's that innocence doesn't scale. I tap a last key. The display resolves into a tree of contracts, redacted orders, and the anomaly. I've been slicing around since it blinked at me from the executive level. There, Leon steps in. Not so close that a camera would accuse us of conspiracy. Close enough that his presence warms the space between my shoulder blades. He reads fast. Faster than people who like to be read to. His jaw tightens on the second branch of the tree. This signature, he says quietly. It's above both our pay grades. And the route. He swipes, tracing the data's migration through departments that shouldn't have been speaking. You were the intended fall. Were is hopeful of you. A slow drum beat begins in the tunnel. Too rhythmic to be water. Leon's head lifts. He doesn't need the comms ping to tell him. I see it in his posture first. The ministry's retrieval team is late to my party, but punctuality is relative when politics are involved. How many exits? He asks. 2 official, 1 rude. I nod toward a grate that would prefer not to be touched. Rude is faster. And safer? No. He considers this for exactly the amount of time it takes to become a problem. Then he reaches for the lamp and kills it. Darkness folds around us. He is geometry beside me, height, heat, a reliable vector. Rude then, he says. Agent Leon, are you deviating from protocol? Temporarily. He pauses. You can file a complaint. I grin before I can help it. It feels like messing up a perfect report. Oh, I intend to. We go for the grate. Behind us, the drumbeat becomes boots. The station inhales men who will never use the word innocent except as a threat. Leon takes the lead because of course he does. Shoulder under metal, leverage. Clean, a breath, 2. And the grate decides it has always been a door. We squeeze into the crawl space. It smells like rust, dreaming of knives. The passage slopes, then levels, then spits us into a smaller chamber where the damp decides to be honest about itself. Water threads the floor. The air tastes like old pennies and ozone. I plant my hands on my knees and let my spine remember its former life. Leon listens with his whole body. The boots pass like weather we chose to miss. When the noise thins, he turns to me. The lamplight is gone, but his outline is enough. You could have let me fall, I say into the dark. Because I shouldn't, and so I do. Would have made the report cleaner. So would shooting you on the roof, he says. Voice, even. Then, after a second that feels like a season, the report doesn't decide who I am. Something loosens behind my ribs in a way my suppressant was not designed to manage. In the silence that follows, a drip counts seconds no one owns. We breathe. The city, above and around us, keeps happening. I need to see that registry again, he says. If I'm going to insist on anything, I want it to be the truth. First pause. First truce. First breath that doesn't taste like only survival. I nod, even though he can't see it. Fine, I say, and let the word be what it is. Not surrender, not trust, but a hallway toward both. Old tunnels keep secrets the way old men keep grudges. Poorly, loudly, but with commitment. The rails here haven't carried anything but rumors in a decade. The station signs still insist we're in service if you ignore the bullet. Holes, and the way the lights flicker like memories remembering themselves. My terminal is an antique with an attitude. A gray slab rescued from a ministry purge. When I slam the heel of my hand against its casing, the screen coughs into a greenish glow and pretends to be cooperative. Like people, I tell it, and maybe Leon too. They break exactly when you need them most. You talk to machines often? He asks, taking a slow survey of my shelter, the folded cot, the crates of filters, the coil of cable that might be a snake or might just be cable. Only the ones that can betray me, I say. So, yes. He huffs something that almost qualifies as amusement and plants himself on a chunk of concrete with a stability that makes the space feel less fragile. The drip of water ticks time behind us. Far above, the city breathes and sells and lies. Down here, we have a different economy, quiet, and the truth we can afford. I peel back a panel on the terminal and reseat a ribbon cable with the same care I'd apply to a carotid. The display sharpens, then resolves into my network, dead arteries I've reanimated, veins stolen. From where the ministry thought no one would look, a pulse I can ride until someone says stop. Leon watches like he's not just humoring me. That part is new. Here's the offer, he says at last. I help you get out of the city clean. No flags, no dogs, no drones. In return, you give me what you have on the real informant. The terminal emits a hopeful beep. I type lightly. Like I'm not committing a minor treason for the greater one. Practical, I say. Almost romantic. It's a deal. Everything is a deal. I tug a bundle of fiber out of its coil and thumb open a port at my wrist. It's old hardware, ugly, but reliable. My favorite type of trader. Before I agree, I want to calibrate something. What's something? You. I glance up. Take off your suppressor. A crease forms between his brows. It's not outrage. It's calculation. A tally of risk against protocol against whatever he's already decided to be today. Why? He says. Because I'm not interested in negotiating with a brick wall. I need to know what's on the other side. I tilt my head. And because this city doesn't smell like anything honest anymore, and I like to be surprised. I could refuse. You could, I agree. You also could have let me fall. The drip counts to 5. Then, with a small motion, he reaches under his collar. The suppressor is matte black, skin close, the kind you forget you're wearing until someone asks you not to. He peels it free. The air moves. It's not a flood. I didn't expect one. Suppressors don't erase, they muffle. Without the collar, the truth becomes slightly less shy. The tunnel acquires a trace of weather, rain waiting at the lip of a roof, iron warming under a hand. It threads through the clinical radius of my own scent suppressant and settles like a coin in a bowl. I don't show it in my face, but my muscles find a new arrangement under my skin, like a string tuned to a different note. Leon's gaze flicks to mine, assessing. Satisfied? Moderately, I say. You smell like thunder and clean steel. Predictable but not dull. I'll update my file, he says, deadpan. Please do. Under fragrance. He looks at the broken rails and the rust and the way the lamp makes the mold look like constellations and says, with a straight mouth that can't hide its edges, Are you aware we're sitting on the floor with rats while you act like a philosophy professor? I bite down on the impulse to smile and lose, adjunct at best. The tenure committee frowned on my methods. He laughs. Not a huff, not an exhale approximating humor. A real sound, short and surprised, like it escaped before he could arrest it. It does something unfortunate under my ribs. I redirect the energy into the terminal. Your deal, I say, as if we haven't already both agreed to it in a dozen small ways. You move me clean. I move you truth. But you need to understand something, Leon. The informant you want isn't one person. It's a composite. A spine made of small men who think they're large, welded together by a signature that doesn't belong to any of them. Helix Gov, he says. And friends, the executive key that authorized my removal appears in 5 different places it shouldn't be, and exactly 1 place it should. I pull up a schematic, roots, edits, metadata that gamely insists it doesn't exist. You were meant to deliver a narrative. I was meant to be a moral of the story. And the story is what? Order, I say. Which is what tyrants call silence when they're holding the remote. He leans in, not enough to crowd, enough that the tunnel's damp seems less cold. Why stay then, if you see them so clearly? Why keep serving a machine that... Because machines are made of parts, and parts can be replaced, I say, before I can decide not to. Because somebody needs to be inside the story long enough to write a different ending. Because I'm very good at being the wrong answer until it's too late. He studies me like he's turning that into a profile. I study him back because I can't help it. Up close, the fatigue I saw in the office reads as a series of tiny choices he didn't like but made anyway. He's not innocent. That's good. Innocent people panic when the world fails to be. Fine, he says. We do it your way until we can't. That's every plan, I say. We just admit it. The terminal hiccups and the tunnel inhales. The screen fractures into windows, contract registries, ghost ledgers, a helix of authorizations that should never have shared air. I tack a private channel across the top, encrypt it until it sings, and hold up my wrist. Give me your left. He hesitates a fraction, habit not fear, then offers his arm. Up close, his skin looks warmer than the world. I click the fiber into his port. The tunnel hums. My secure mesh crawls across his implant like frost on glass, quick and quiet and everywhere. He closes his eyes. That's the trust, I realize. Not the offer, not the deal, not the walk into a dead station on the word of a man he was sent to kill. It's this, the complete, defenseless moment of letting somebody else hold the line that connects your body to the grid. I keep my mouth shut about it. The moment deserves silence. The system handshakes, then sings. His data signature fans open on my display, clean architecture, thoughtful redundancies, a few hacks wedged in like pocket knives. I thread him into my network and build him a lane, narrow and strong, no exits he doesn't know about. You're live, I say, when the light on his wrist ticks from amber to green. You'll see what I see. You'll feel if someone touches our wire. He opens his eyes. The tunnel light finds the iron in them and decides to stay. Side effects? Mild exhilaration, I say. Occasional disillusionment. A tendency to prefer facts over orders. If symptoms persist, consult an ethicist. I don't know any. I'll introduce you to a mirror. He looks down at the thin line connecting us. His scent shifts, barely. A storm deciding if it will be thunder or just the promise of it. When he speaks, there's no ceremony in it, which somehow makes it a ceremony. All right, he says. We're partners until the truth runs out. Truth doesn't run out, I say. Patience does. Somewhere through the concrete, a train that no longer exists imagines itself passing. The tunnel breathes with us, water stitching the pause. I tap a final command and lock the channel. Now, I tell him, letting the words sit where promises go brittle or bright. You're tethered to me. The Helix Gov Tower breathes cold. Light here is sterile and deliberate, falling in clean blades that never quite reach the floor. Air recyclers hum like restrained thunder. The scent is antiseptic. Ozone, plastic, and a metallic undertone that insists on being authority. We slip through a maintenance corridor, skinning the cameras with borrowed credentials. My pulse syncs with the data lines overhead. Every heartbeat could be a signal. Every breath could trigger a lock. Leon moves behind me, a shadow in a black field jacket, all discipline and low heat. 4th sub-level. I whisper. Data core. That's where they keep the orders they pretend don't exist. He nods once. No questions. Just motion. We're two ghosts crossing a kingdom that doesn't believe in the afterlife. The elevator opens into blue light and the endless hum of servers. Rows and rows of silver towers blink with quiet arrogance. This is where the city's lies live, and where I plan to exhume them. 5 minutes, I murmur. Leon stations himself by the door, weapon drawn but low. I plug my cable into a port older than either of us and start peeling the layers of encryption. The terminal resists like a locked jaw. Behind me, he says, "You really think the evidence is here?" I know it is. I tap another string. The ministry deletes nothing. They just hide it behind prettier lies. The progress bar crawls. A faint tremor moves through the floor, a vibration too rhythmic to be machinery. Leon's head lifts. We tripped something. No, I say, even as the terminal blinks red. Something tripped us. The air changes. Every system in the room inhales. Alarms stay silent, but I hear the electric growl of the security grid waking up. And then, a soft hiss against my collar. My blood ices. The suppressor on my throat sputters once, twice, then gives up. A thin crackle runs down my spine, and the world suddenly smells. The scent erupts like a slow explosion. Not loud, but absolute. Warm skin under rain, static before lightning, something old and human that hasn't breathed free air in months. Leon stiffens. His instincts flare. I can feel them, heavy as gravity. He's not the kind who loses control, but his body remembers rules older than orders. He turns his face away. Jaw tight. You knew this might happen. Of course. My voice is thin, strained. I just didn't think you'd have the patience not to shoot me. He snorts through his teeth, half humor, half pain. You're not making it easy. It's a hobby. My pulse is everywhere. The scent field thickens, sweet sharp, dangerously close to confession. He moves closer, against every protocol, because distance doesn't help when chemistry makes its own rules. The door clicks open, heavy steps, voices, security sweep. Leon curses under his breath and drags me behind the nearest server stack. The air here is hotter, tighter, filled with the hum of power supplies and the echo of our breathing. I can feel the pulse in his wrist where it brushes mine. 2 guards, he mouths. I nod, already rerouting the sensor feed. My fingers shake only a little. The scent still spills from me in waves, reacting to stress like static electricity. One of the guards slows near our row. Leon shifts, body between me and the sight line. The movement is instinct, protective, infuriating. His shoulder brushes my cheek. My breath fogs against the fabric of his sleeve. The air turns unbearable. The guards move on. Boots recede. Silence slides back in. We stay frozen for a beat longer than necessary. When I move my hand, it grazes his. Electricity. He flinches, not away, but like someone remembering warmth. I whisper, "Try not to make it weird." "You first," he murmurs, and the ghost of a smile tugs his mouth. I find the bypass command and launch a decoy loop. 2 perfect replicas of our signal signatures sprint down the corridor on the opposite side of the level. Sensors bite the bait. The system thinks we're ghosts running east. "Done," I say. "They'll chase the wrong shadows." "Good." He checks the corridor again, then glances back at me. His pupils are wider than the dim light can justify. "You okay?" "Define okay." "Breathing?" "For now." He huffs. "Progress." I snap the cable free, pocket the drive, and gesture toward the ventilation shaft above the emergency station. "Exit plan." Leon gives me a look that says, "Really?" I give him one back that says, "Trust me, or die curious." He obeys, hoisting himself up and prying the grate with his fingers. I follow, boots scraping metal, lungs full of recycled electricity. The vent is narrow and stifling. Fans hum somewhere ahead, dragging our voices into mechanical whispers. The air smells of dust, heat, and me. My suppressant's still dead. The scent clings to everything, weaving through the current like a live wire. Leon crawls ahead. "You sure this leads out?" "Define out," I echo. He glances over his shoulder, eyes glinting in the low blue. "You enjoy this, breaking into a government-contracted megacorp while half sedated on my own biology?" "Thrilling." His laugh ricochets through the metal, low and genuine. "You're impossible." "I've been called worse." We reach a junction. Voices echo below. Security teams, chasing ghosts. I hook into the control node on the vent wall. Send the false trail deeper into the building. On the map, 2 glowing figures sprint straight into containment. The real us stays invisible, panting in the dark. "You're insane," he says. "Efficiently so." He chuckles again, quietly. "When this is over, remind me never to underestimate analysts." "When this is over," I say, "I'll consider forgiving you for nearly shooting me." "Nearly?" "You had the look." He shakes his head, amusement warming the chill. "You're insufferable. That's what keeps me alive." The next grate opens into night. We spill onto the rooftop, the rain greeting us like a secret ally. For a moment, neither of us moves. The city hums below, vast and glittering, unaware it almost caught its own ghosts. Leon leans back against the parapet, breathing hard. "We should go." "In a second," I say. The storm scent from him tangles with mine, the air between us sharp and strange. I meet his gaze. For once, neither of us looks away. Then I laugh. Sharp, exhausted, a release. We just robbed Helix Gov in socks and borrowed codes. He starts laughing too, quiet at first, then louder until it drowns under the rain. "Absurd," he says. "Completely." We run, half sliding, half flying, across the wet roof toward the next building. 2 silhouettes grinning at the madness, the night behind us, humming with alarms and static, and the scent of a war we're not done fighting. The motel room smells like rust, rain, and bleach that lost the argument. The kind of place where even ghosts wouldn't check in twice. A single lamp tries to impersonate light and fails. The rest is a palette of shadows. The window rattles with every gust of wind, the curtains sighing like tired witnesses. I'm sitting on the edge of the bed, replaying the data loop again and again. watching the same lines of code scroll like confessions in a dead language. Somewhere, the world above is pretending the night isn't cracking open. Leon's voice breaks through the storm before the door does. Ash. It's not a question. Not yet. But it's loaded like one. He steps inside without knocking. He never knocks anymore. The door closes with a reluctant click, and suddenly the room feels too small for both the truth and us. He's soaked from the rain, hair plastered against his forehead, the black of his jacket slick with water and something heavier. Purpose. He's holding his terminal. I don't need to look at it to know what's on the screen. You found it, I say quietly. The words taste neutral, but his silence isn't. He walks closer, the wet leather of his boots making slow, deliberate sounds. It's real? His voice is low, controlled, the kind that can make a person confess just to fill the quiet. Define real, I answer, and he almost smiles. Almost. Ash. My name leaves his mouth like a warning. The recording. You're sending encrypted data to HelixGov's external node. Your face, your credentials, your voice. I lean back on my hands, studying him through the half-light. It's a convincing illusion, isn't it? I almost admire the editing. I check the metadata. The timestamp lines up with our entry into the tower. That's the point. His brows furrow. What point? To make you look, I say simply. He stares, the confusion laced with something sharper. Betrayal. You mean you faked it? I created a version of events for whoever's watching to believe. To see if you would too. He blinks once. Twice. The pause stretches, taut as wire. You played me, he says finally. I tested you. Don't. His tone cuts through the air, flat and final. Don't dress it up as strategy. You've been manipulating me since the start. I stand, slow enough to make it a choice. The distance between us collapses to a few feet. The lamplight paints us in uneven halves, his face all sharp lines and disbelief, mine pale and tired enough to reflect it. I gave you a choice, Leon, I say. You just kept waiting for someone to tell you which one was right. His jaw tightens. The muscles in his forearm flex around the terminal, knuckles whitening. You think this is about orders? Isn't it always? The storm outside crashes hard enough to rattle the glass. He flinches, not at the thunder, but at me. I trusted you. No, I say, voice quiet but steady. You trusted your version of me, the one that fit your rules, the convenient one. He shakes his head, a dry laugh slipping out. And what are you then? Complicated? That's not an answer. It's the only one worth having. The silence that follows is worse than yelling. It's a silence that hums, like the second before a shot or the first after. Then he moves. Quick. The gun is in his hand before I can breathe. For a moment, I see the whole history of us, the rooftops, the tunnels, the servers and storms, all distilled into that single line of metal between us. He's not aiming straight. Not yet. But he could. Do it, I say. And mean it more than I should. Finish the report. Call it self-defense. You'll even have footage this time. Shut up. Or what? I take a step closer. His hand trembles, barely, and it's enough. You'll finally make a decision without permission? Don't. Think for you? Too late. He exhales through his teeth, a sound between fury and disbelief. Then, slowly, he lowers the weapon. His hand drops to his side, the barrel still glinting with the reflection of the dying lamp. God damn it, Ash. I told you, I whisper. I'm not your story's villain or victim. I'm just the one who stopped believing in happy endings first. He looks at me like he's trying to memorize the version of me he thought was real, before it unravels completely. His voice, when it comes, is raw. You don't even look guilty. I don't have the luxury. He hesitates. One breath, maybe two, then turns and walks out. No slammed door. No dramatic exit. Just absence, stepping into rain. The silence he leaves behind is heavier than the gun ever was. The rain crawls down the window like static. The sound fills the room, but it doesn't drown the echo of what just happened. I stare at the mirror above the sink. the kind that's too small to flatter and too honest to ignore. For a second, I almost don't recognize the man staring back. His eyes are duller than mine feel, the corners of his mouth too still. There's a line of exhaustion running from one temple to the other, as if he's been holding his breath for years. You made your point, I tell him. Congratulations. He doesn't answer. Of course he doesn't. I reach up, wipe a streak of water from the mirror, and it smears instead of clearing. My reflection bends, flickers, fractures into 4 different versions of me. For a heartbeat, I think of Leon, how he looked standing in the doorway, the weight of choice heavy in his hands. The air smells wrong now. Burnt ozone, copper, the sharp edge of a failing circuit. Something in my chest snaps to match it. My hand closes into a fist before I realize I've moved. The punch lands clean. The mirror shatters in a single breath, scattering light like broken code. For a moment, the fragments hang there, suspended, showing a dozen faces that all look the same, tired, dangerous, done pretending. Then they fall. The sound is small, almost polite. Blood beads on my knuckles, red as the glow of the terminal still looping the fake recording. The scent of iron and ozone fills the room, tangled with the wet breath of rain sneaking in through the cracked window. I stand there, hand bleeding, chest hollow, the reflection gone. The storm keeps talking outside, but for the first time, I don't listen. The tunnel descends until it forgets the concept of light. The air is colder here, damp enough to taste. Water drips in a rhythm too deliberate to be chance, echoing off the rusted ribs of concrete that used to carry trains and now only hold secrets. At the end of the passage, half drowned in darkness, waits the heart of a ghost. A subaquatic data center once belonging to HelixGov's offshore branch. When the city built its new systems, they left this one behind. I claimed it before the silence did. Now its hum greets me like an old friend with bad intentions. The servers are stacked like tombs, humming beneath a thin skin of condensation. Every surface smells faintly of brine and ozone, and underneath it, the sterile perfume of deception. I pull off my gloves, slot a cable into the console, and let the machine breathe me in. The code blooms across the screen, slow, glitchy, resentful. I dig, erase, rewrite. Each command feels like stitching a wound that keeps remembering why it was made. For hours, or maybe minutes, time drowns down here. I chase a ghost file through recursive paths. It keeps slipping, reappearing, changing its name like a fugitive. When I finally corner it, the metadata uncoils like a confession. Not one leak, not one traitor, a system of them. Orders forged, messages rerouted, dossiers rewritten. The informant was bait, and Leon and I were the hook. A laugh slips out, humorless and thin. Congratulations, Ash, I mutter. You were the distraction all along. The machine hums, indifferent. Then, a sound above the hum. Footsteps. Wet ones. Slow. I tense. Hand on the sidearm I swore I'd never actually use. The entry hatch groans open, and a silhouette fills it. Tall, steady, soaked to the bone. Leon. He stands there, breathing hard, water dripping from his hair from his jawline to the floor. The light catches him like a rumor, sharp edges, tired eyes, and an exhaustion so deep it borders on peace. I wasn't sure you'd still be here, he says. Where else would I go? He crosses the floor, leaving a trail of wet footprints. When he drops his satchel onto the desk, it lands with a metallic thud. Found something. He unseals it. Inside, a set of drives, each stamped with the ministry's insignia. The real kind. The kind you're not supposed to be able to take out of the building. I glance up at him. Tell me that's what I think it is. It's worse, he says. Direct orders from the deputy minister. Signatures, timelines, payments. You and I were never the targets. We were cover. Every elimination, every leak, every staged operation was meant to divert attention while they erased their own paper trail. I stare at the drives. So the empire eats itself after all. Leon's mouth twitches, not quite a smile. Only if we let the rest of the world watch. We don't speak after that. There's no need. The plan is already written in the silence between us. I link his drives into the mainframe. The network protests. My access codes shouldn't work anymore, but Leon overrides the authentication, his fingers moving fast, sure. The machine recognizes him, then me, then realizes too late what we're doing. The truth pours out like a broken pipeline. Every secret, every altered contract, every execution order tied to a false informant. Unsealed, decrypted, mirrored, broadcasted across every open node in the city. Screens will light up in boardrooms, in cafes, in living rooms that thought themselves safe from politics. Somewhere, alarms begin to scream. Too late. Leon leans back, exhaling. It's done. On the main screen, the first headline flickers to life. Helix Gov network breach. Internal orders exposed. A second follows. Then a third. The flood begins. Outside, through the cracks in the tunnel's ceiling, I can hear the city's roar, confused, angry, alive. The empire we just gutted is bleeding data into the world, like a confession it can't retract. Leon breaks the silence first. You wanted proof. There it is. I stare at the screen, watching the light play over my hands. We just destroyed a political dynasty. He wipes a streak of rainwater from his jaw. You wanted quiet. Congratulations. The whole world's watching us not talk. For a heartbeat, neither of us moves. Then I laugh, real this time, the sound rusty from disuse. He joins me, low at first, then with something like disbelief. We laugh until the echoes come back to us softer than they started, until the servers hum along, until the tunnel stops feeling like a tomb. When the laughter fades, he says, You know they'll come for us. They'll try. I look at the data spill spreading across the screen, endless and bright. But truth has a scent. Once it's in the air, you can't scrub it out. He looks at me, steady, rain dark, maybe finally seeing the same storm I do. Then let it spread, he says. And for the first time since this started, the air doesn't smell like lies. It smells like rain. Sharp, clean, alive. The city above us keeps breathing. The empire keeps burning. And somewhere between them, two ghosts exhale the same breath and finally laugh without armor. The city looks different when it stops lying. The neon has burned itself out. The billboards are silent. And for the first time in months, the air smells like rain instead of circuitry and fear. I sit on the roof of an old building that used to be important to someone. Its tiles are cracked, its edges uneven, but it's tall enough to see the skyline. The clouds hang low, heavy but forgiving, and the wind carries the soft metallic scent of a city learning how to breathe again. The coffee in my hands is too hot, too bitter, and absolutely perfect. Footsteps behind me, steady, familiar. Leon's reflection appears in the puddle by my boot before he does. He's traded his field jacket for something that might once have been casual, but now looks like surrender done right. He drops another cup beside me and sits down with the graceless ease of someone who's earned the right to stop pretending he isn't tired. Peace offering? I ask, taking a cautious sip. Bribery, he says. You look like a man who'd sell forgiveness for caffeine. I'd sell a lot of things for caffeine. He hums, looking out over the city. The morning light paints half his face in gold, the other half in shadow. It suits him, caught between absolution and whatever comes after. Below us, the traffic hums faintly, cautious, like people aren't sure yet whether the world's still running the same rules. Screens everywhere are replaying what we did. The leaks, the collapse, the headlines that read more like obituaries. You realize we're both wanted, I say eventually. He takes a sip of his coffee. Technically, yes. Not technically. Literally. You're a criminal now. He glances at me, mouth twitching. And you're still an analyst who smells like overwork and unresolved trust issues. I laugh into my cup. Fair enough. The breeze shifts, cool and wet. It carries the last traces of the storm. The scent of ozone and pavement. Of the world rinsed clean and still unsure what to do with itself. For a while, neither of us speaks. There's nothing left to decode. No lines to read between. Just the sound of wind through the wires and the faint hiss of the city's pulse recalibrating. Leon sets his cup down, fingers brushing the railing. Then he reaches to his collar. The small black band, the suppressor, clicks softly as he unlocks it. For a heartbeat, the air between us holds still, like it knows something irreversible is about to happen. He sets it on the parapet beside the cups. The shift is immediate. The faint storm scent I've always associated with him unfurls. Rain on iron, static before thunder, steady warmth. It fills the space like truth arriving late, but determined. You know, I say quietly, once you do that, everyone will know who you are. He tilts his head, eyes still on the horizon. Good. Yeah. A half smile breaks through, small but real. Means I can stop pretending. There's no bravado in it, just calm. The kind that comes after surviving your own choices. I lean back on my palms, watching the clouds begin to thin. You think the city will forgive us? Cities don't forgive, he says. They forget. Eventually, comforting, he shrugs. You did what you do best, told the truth. I just helped make it louder. The sun pushes through, weak but persistent, and the rooftops glisten with leftover rain. I can feel the warmth creeping back into my bones, reluctant but real. For the first time, I don't need to analyze the silence between us. It's not waiting to break. It's just still, honest. Leon nudges my arm with his elbow. So what now, Ash? I watch a droplet slide down the edge of my coffee cup, catching light before it disappears. Now? I think we breathe. He nods, eyes soft. Good plan. The wind carries the scent of the storm's aftermath. Faint sweetness, wet concrete, something that could almost be hope. And I think, sometimes truth doesn't smell like blood. It smells like rain. And if you're lucky enough to survive it, breathe deeper.